Safety Maze, where we explore the paradox of human connection in the global age. I'm Ava Dana. Let's step into the maze. We don't pick sides because we understand. We pick sides because uncertainty feels uncomfortable. Most people think we pick sides because we believe something, but more often than not, we pick sides because we're afraid. Afraid of being wrong, afraid of uncertainty, afraid of not knowing what is true. And in that fear, certainty feels safe. But what if the real counter to fear isn't certainty, but knowledge? Look at almost any issue today. What do you notice? One thing we notice is how quickly it becomes divided into two sides, two positions, two opposing views, and very little space in between, something social media is good at highlighting. But most questions in life are not that simple. They're complex and open to interpretation. But we humans are uncomfortable with uncertainty. We want clarity, certainty, and belonging. So we don't hang around, we push to choose. And this clearly shows what we said at the start, that we don't pick sides because we understand. We pick sides because uncertainty makes us uncomfortable. Now think about the last time you felt afraid. What caused it? Was this fear linked to a deep, cold realization of the unknown? Or did it come from a neutral issue, which was turned into a us versus them? Now, when you felt that fear, was your instinct to stop and ask yourself, why am I feeling this fear in the first place? Or did you quickly do what we see on social media all the time? Any ideas what that is? Uncertainty creates tension. It makes us feel exposed, like we don't have control. And the human mind doesn't like that feeling. So it looks for resolution, something solid, something certain. And the fastest way to create certainty is to pick a side, because once you've chosen, the uncertainty disappears. At least it feels like it does. Fear doesn't ask us to think, it asks us to choose. And the faster we choose, the less time we spend understanding. But we rarely choose alone. We look around, we observe others, we listen to what's being said, and slowly we begin to align with people who think like us, speak like us, see the world like us. And once we're part of that group, something changes. We don't just share ideas, we start protecting them, because now those ideas represent more than belief, they represent belonging. And we feel safe when we think we belong. Groupthink doesn't happen because people are weak. It happens because belonging feels safer than thinking alone. If we look at what's happening across social media right now, we begin to see something that sits at the heart of this episode. Not misinformation, not enemies, something else. The pressure to choose. Whether the topic is politics, a global conflict, cultural controversy, an AI breakthrough, or a public scandal, the pattern is remarkably similar. A story emerges, information is incomplete, facts are still developing, and yet, within hours, millions of people feel compelled to take a position, to announce where they stand, to declare support, to express opposition, to signal allegiance. And what is interesting is that this often happens before a full understanding of the issue has had time to develop. Reporting from organizations such as The Guardian, The Washington Post, and Reuters has repeatedly highlighted how social media platforms reward visibility, engagement, and rapid reaction. The result is that uncertainty becomes uncomfortable, waiting becomes difficult, and neutrality can begin to feel suspicious. Because in highly connected digital spaces, silence is often interpreted as a statement. Not choosing can look like choosing, and that changes the psychology completely. The question is no longer, what do I think about this? The question becomes, what will people think if I don't respond? And once that shift occurs, the social pressure to align becomes powerful. We see what others are saying. We see which views are receiving approval. We see which positions are being celebrated, and gradually the desire to understand can become secondary to the desire for certainty. This is why social media provides such a powerful lens into human behavior, because it reveals something that has probably always existed: the need for certainty, the need for acceptance, the need to know where we stand. And when uncertainty feels uncomfortable, choosing a side offers relief. It creates clarity, it creates identity, it creates belonging, at least temporarily. But there is a cost, because once a position becomes part of who we are, changing our mind becomes much harder. We are no longer evaluating an idea, we are protecting an identity. And perhaps that is the deeper lesson hidden within so many of today's online debates. The issue is not simply that people disagree, the issue is how quickly disagreement becomes allegiance, how quickly uncertainty becomes certainty, and how quickly a side becomes part of who we think we are. Which brings us back to the central question of this episode. Do we pick sides because we understand? Or do we sometimes pick sides because understanding takes time and belonging does not? Over time, these groups become something stronger. They give us identity and they give us meaning. They tell us where we stand. What begins as a position slowly becomes a community and eventually a tribe. They become political tribes, cultural tribes, ideological tribes, and tribes are powerful, but they also do something else. They draw lines. So they establish clear boundaries between you and others. Every tribe gives you something powerful, a sense of who you are, but it also quietly tells you who you're not. And once those lines are drawn, we begin to signal through what we say, through what we post, through what we support, and what we reject. Because once we've chosen a side, every public action becomes evidence that we chose correctly. Because communication isn't just about ideas, it's about identity. It's about being seen, recognized, understood by the people we align with, and distinguished from those who don't share our beliefs. So sometimes we don't express beliefs to explore them, we express them to reinforce who we are. We don't always speak to be understood, sometimes we speak to be recognized. But fear is not hardwired into us. It is merely a signal, a vibration. So we can see fear as a wall that blocks us, or as an initiator that triggers learning. When fear is a wall, it pushes us towards certainty. It wants clarity now. It wants a side. It wants a resolution. But when fear motivates us to find out more, we no longer freeze. Instead, we open up ourselves to knowledge. And knowledge is different. Knowledge is not instantaneous. It questions, it explores, it allows uncertainty, because knowledge doesn't need immediate answers. It's comfortable not knowing. It requires patience and humility and the willingness to not be right, at least not yet. So maybe the issue isn't that people disagree. Disagreement is natural. It's human. The issue isn't that people have opinions. The issue is how quickly uncertainty becomes commitment. The issue is how quickly disagreement becomes identity. How quickly a position becomes part of who we are. And once that happens, stepping back becomes difficult because now we are not just questioning an idea, we are questioning ourselves. Perhaps the real problem isn't that we pick sides, it's that we forget why we pick them. We forget the uncertainty that came before, the question that led us there, and instead we defend the position as if it was always certain, as if it was always true. Fear pushes us to pick sides. Knowledge asks us to question them. And the more we choose certainty over understanding, the smaller our world becomes. But the moment we pause and choose to understand instead of react, we step out of the maze, even if only for a moment. Welcome to the Identity Maze. This is the Identity Maze, hosted by Ava Dana. Thanks for listening. If this conversation made you think a little differently, share it with someone. If you enjoyed the episode, follow the show and join us next time. New episodes explore how beliefs form, how tribes emerge, and why changing our minds can be one of the hardest things we ever do.